K-Boss Radio Theater proudly presents a jukebox novel in Same Time Yesteryear, the Ballad of Sylvia and Mickey.
Love, love is strange.
Chapter 1. Love is Strange. A-side. Now, if you've been wondering if there was any connection between me and Mickey and the duo who recorded the popular song Love is Strange, you would be right. And if you figured I was just going to ignore it and never bring it up, well, you would be wrong. By now I have come to view my life experiences as if they were the 45 RPM grooved wax records that spun on the jukebox in the old Beehive Diner. You always have two sides. The A side typically has the hit. It's the one that has a great beat that you can dance to, as they said on Dick Clark's American Bandstand. The B side, however, is usually a throwaway tune that is quickly forgotten in the memories of musicologists and doomed a silent death in the annals of history. The way I see it, those grooves in the record, well, they can be filled with everything that has happened in our lives. The good, the bad, and the stuff you wish you could forget about but can't. They tend to play over and over again, warping over time. You see, the song Love is Strange was recorded by a duo named Mickey and Sylvia. It was on the Groove label and released 3 years earlier in 1956. It was the A-side hit that peaked at #1 on Billboard magazine's list of R&B singles. And it should come as no surprise when I tell you that the fine folks of Hickory Springs had themselves a heyday with the coincidence regarding our names. At first it was cute. Then, like any other horse that has been whipped to death, it became obnoxious. I can remember telling Mickey that we should change our names, to which he scoffed. They should change theirs. One-hit wonders. Sylvia Woods, Mickey Calhoun will be cranking out the hits for eternity. I rolled my eyes back at him then, but I can't argue with that now. Neither can I contend the fact that our love must have appeared strange in the eyes of those around us. A short, orphaned kid wearing horned-rimmed glasses and leg braces, in the constant company of a lanky, singing bastard child and her Siamese cat. Definitely not the kind of romance you saw depicted in movies starring Sandra Dee or television shows like Leave It to Beaver. So there I was, on Halloween night, 1959, humming that track from the A-side when I heard a radio dial whiz past stations near and far. It landed with a blast from the past on KBOS, the Big Boss powerhouse, spinning all the Big Boss platters that matter. And radio disc jockey Big Bobcat growled through the glowing radio of the wicked 55 Chevy. It's Halloween, you ghosts and ghouls. Time to rock and roll. Don't be fools. Play those tricks, beg for those treats. I've got the Big Boss hits burning up the streets. We're spinning the stacks and racks of wax, broadcasting live from KBOS. You request them, and they'll play for us. Let's start this party off with Jerry Lee Lewis, The Killer, and Great Balls of Fire. Ow! The king of fire and brimstone sat behind the wheel of his beast. Moonlight reflected off the studs of his black leather jacket. He lit his cigarette and snapped his lattice shut with a clink that echoed through the lightning-streaked midnight air. He dragged a comb through his brill-creamed, Presley-styled locks, proving that a little dab will definitely do you. And as he cranked up the radio, the killer answered the call by shaking nerves and rattling brains as he tore into his famous opening piano riff. Bum, 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 bump. Roar! The engine of the beast erupted with life. This stopped me dead in my tracks. I was 13 years old and standing alone on a gravel road that stretched to infinity in both directions. My auburn ponytails were a tangled rat's nest that lay limp upon the grime-stained blue plaid dress I was wearing. The only parts of me that sparkled were the ruby-red, sequined slippers that guarded my tender feet from the sharp crests of the limestone graded road that lay beneath me. These shoes were made for skipping down the yellow brick road, not this drag strip of fury where only one could cross the checkered flag. I whipped around and saw the beast begin to inch forward. The chrome fender began to spread its jowls and began to snarl as the rag top folded itself back, exposing an interior that was already in flames. This wicked 55 had become an iron fist from hell, and Jerry Lee Lewis was belting its anthem at the top of his lungs. Behind the power of the mighty engine, the back wheels spun a cloud of dirt and gravel, cloaking the beast from sight. A brilliant display of flickering crimson began to rise inside the devil's dust storm. Then the wicked 55 launched out of the haze and barreled down the road with rooster-tail sparks roaring in its wake. It thundered like a dragon chasing down its intended prey, but this predator was salivating soot, burning oil from its chrome jowls. "Ready or not, I'm coming for you, Peggy Sue!" screamed the king from behind the wheel. I guess my faceless gracer did not consider that my name was actually Sylvia when he belted out his clever rhyme. I took a step toward the oncoming rocket and then reconsidered. I screamed back at the car, not only in defiance, but out of sheer frustration that this was all for nothing. Then I turned and started running as fast as I could for an end that was nowhere in sight. The beast came thundering down the road, the back wheels grinding the kind of horror you would hear cranking from the rusty gears of a human slaughterhouse. Mickey, my true love, and barely a year older than me, was still locked in the trunk, and I had yet to free him as planned. But first I had to make it back to the safety of Hickory Springs. The town was suddenly in my sights. I could see trick-or-treaters swarming the neighborhood streets. Barricades blocked the through traffic, keeping the evening's festivities safe. That was about to change. The beast was breathing down fast, chomping like a demonic set of grit-laden chattery teeth that had been brushed in recycled engine oil. The king was screaming at the top of his lungs, "Too much love drives a woman insane!" while the radio blasted away. Not daring to risk slowing my pace by taking a quick look behind me, I just kept my focus on passing those barricades and setting a new land speed record in the process. I was going to make it. But damn my curiosity. I just had to take one last look behind me, just to make sure I had enough distance between me and the wicked 55. I did. I knew it. And when I turned back to the road in front of me, it was blocked by a door that had been placed in my path to salvation. I reached for the handle, turned it, and tried to open it, but there was an unseen force pushing back on the other side. I could feel the beast nearing behind me, and just as I got the door open a crack, the claws of the Reaper wrapped around from the inside and forced back even harder, all the while shrieking, "You keep a knocking, but you can't come in! Come back tomorrow night and try it again!" I was pushing on the door with all my might as my ruby-sparkled slippers began to sink deeper into what was now a pile of large grain kitty litter, chock full of sand-covered turds. I had succeeded in getting a firm foothold in these disguised pieces of almond roca and gave one final push on the door, which sent it crashing into 1,000 shards of broken glass. I fell into a different world, upon a set of railroad tracks, as children dressed in their bouquet of Halloween costumes chased after the caboose of a train that was being swallowed by a tunnel. And then everything went silent. I looked up and saw my mother, who had been dead since the previous summer. She was standing on the balcony of the caboose, waving for me to get up and follow her down the tracks. "Remember, Sylvia, click your heels 3 times and repeat after me. There's no place like home." Then she reached into a horn of cornucopia, pulled out handfuls of gold-wrapped chocolate coins, and began to toss them to the children as she disappeared into the black chasm of the tunnel. I sprang to my feet and began to run after her. Just as I reached the gray stone arch of the tunnel, which was framed in baby's breath and rose vines, the wicked 55 came crashing through the door frame, breaking down the false facade behind me and erupting in a gigantic ball of fire. The king and his band of fiends pierced the silent night. "Oh, Sylvia! How do you call your lover boy?" "Mickey!" I screamed, with tears bursting from my bloodshot eyes. "And if he doesn't answer?" "Mickey! Oh, my sweet Mickey! You're the one." I could hear Mickey responding to my pleas by pounding on the trunk and shrieking through his shredded vocal cords as the smell of his bubbling flesh filled the night air. But I just stood there. Again. Paralyzed. Again. I closed my eyes tight, then held my hands to my ears to block out the sound, but I didn't have enough hands to stop my nose from inhaling his death. It was of no use. It never was. His smell was my penance each time this distorted version of the past and I danced with the devil. Mickey's voice always reacted the same way to the fire devouring his body. Goodness gracious, smoking Jesus! If I'm dying, I'm frying! Great balls of fire! Sylvia! Save me. It has not changed in 50 years. His words are like some carnival barker's theatrics. In reality, Mickey just choked and gargled on blood and smoke. I wince silently at that memory that plays each time in glorious technicolor. And every day since that night, all I have desired is to recut the grooves on that record so that it plays a song of growing old and remembering lives well lived, lives we never had together because of my cowardice. Don't touch that dial and stay tuned for Chapter 2, I'm Going Home, on K-Boss Radio Theater, where the past is always present.